Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Apex F1 podcast. I am joined by my co hosts, Josh and Paul. I am Meredith, and we are very excited to join you today for the Apex Awards of 2025. This is the first time we are doing it, but today we are going to host a season review and give you some of our favorites, least favorites, and talk all the highs and lows. But first, Paul, how were your holidays?
Holidays were great. It was like 70 degrees over here and it was awful. I hated it. But my parents are in town, so it's been fun to hang out. You know, we live so far away. We don't get a chance to see each other much, but it was nice to just all hang out together. We decided not to do a lot of presents this year, so it was just mainly hanging out together, spending time as a family.
I'm glad to hear it. Josh, how about you guys? How were your holidays?
Yeah, we had a great time. We did a little bit of travel and went to the east part of the state to go see my parents, and we did Christmas Eve with hers. So we did all the family stuff, had a good time, and then just enjoyed a chill last few days while everybody's been off work. So it's been really nice. Been really nice.
Nice. So it sounds like you made the rounds and Paul and I opted to
Mhm.
stay home for the holidays. I traveled, as y'all know, I traveled for work for 6 weeks leading up to Christmas. So Joe and I opted for Christmas in Houston. And as much as it was a bummer to not be around family, it was so nice to like be home and go play golf and lay on the couch. Like I watched an entire season of a show in one sitting. So like that was quite lovely.
Man, yeah, it was tough keeping up with your travel schedule. I didn't know whether you were coming or going at some points, and
I didn't even know. I like physically did not even know where my body was. I was just mentally persevering, getting through. It was like I knew December 19th was my benchmark. And I was like, if I can make it to December 19th, I'll survive.
I was tired for you when you were saying, "Oh, I'm going to be here this week, and then tomorrow I'm over there." I was like, "Yo, I just read this text and I need a nap."
I was looking at my United Airlines account, like my Mileage Plus account. And it was like in the last 2 months of this year, it was like I had like 16 flight segments. I was like, Mama's tired.
That's a lot.
It
That's a
was.
lot of flying.
It was. It was. But hey, you know what? Those miles are hard earned during work time, so I can use them for playtime. So it's
That's
already
fair.
I'm banking up all the miles I can for Abu Dhabi for next year. So I'm like, because I do not want to fly economy to Abu Dhabi. I know that sounds bougie, but I just don't.
I feel
I
like if you're going to do a flight for that long,
It's 23 hours.
it's going to have to
23
be
Oof, yeah.
hours.
first class.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
you gotta have the leg
this is
room.
one of those where I'm like, I'm willing to ball out.
Yeah, you just have to.
Okay, did anybody get any Formula One themed or motorsport themed Christmas anything? Anything that we need to share with the class?
I mean, I got this Alpine one on the Black Friday deals, but I haven't
Yes,
worn it
I see
since now.
that. Do you know what would have probably been a better thing to do is to just light $60 on fire and commit a federal crime?
That's a good idea.
Just a thought.
Wow. First of all, this was 35. So, you know,
Plus shipping? Or free
You know,
shipping this
I
time.
bet a parakeet is
first of
probably
all, I just have to
$35.
say, blue is my color. I look good
It really
with this
is.
blue.
It
so
really is.
I just had to do
Blue
it.
is your color, and it goes well with the LA Dodgers hat. I'm really not
Yeah.
clear where your sports loyalty lies, but
My
They're all
sports
over the
loyalty.
place.
Better than your two sports loyalties, and we'll have another episode on that later, because
Two.
orange is a stupid color. I just have to say that.
Whatever. You chose to
no
live here.
motorsport anything for you, Josh?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, well, my friend Whitney got me the world champion McLaren Lando sweatshirt, and everything that Whitney gives me that is McLaren related like turns to gold. The t-shirt she gave me for my birthday this year, every time I wore it this season, Lando won a race. So I'm hoping that this brings good vibes. And then my friend Jess's mom got me a Ferrari Lego car. And so I have yet to put that together. Very excited. And she got me some of the Lego minis. And one of them is the Alpine. So it's quite cute. Quite cute. Blue and pink. But that's it. No paddock passes. Quite rude. None of y'all thought to buy me paddock passes.
How
but that's
rude.
okay.
We're just jerks. You should find better friend group.
Well, one day this podcast will make us money and we'll be able to afford paddock passes.
Yes.
Yep, that's the
It was
plan.
I had signed up for the Abu Dhabi emails for like when the tickets go on sale, and I was like, I got the call from the guy and he was like, hey, tickets are going on sale. I just want to talk you through some of the ticket packages. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And I was like, he was like, what are you thinking? And I was like, well, we've seen people do different stuff. So we're interested in like grandstands, hospitality, and like would be interested to see the quote on paddock. And I was actually quite surprised that Abu Dhabi is not as expensive as some of the other races, especially like comparing to like Austin and Vegas and stuff like that, which are ones that
Really?
I book,
Well, do tell.
booked
What
for.
was the what was the
So
rates?
like we can get hospitality tickets for the entire weekend for like 3,000 a person, and that includes all food and drink and stuff. And so I was like, okay, that's a really good one. But like even the paddock ones were like 8, I think is what it was. And I was like, okay, like I'm not, I won't be spending that, but like for the people that do want to spend that, like that's a pretty cool option. But I am still waiting for he was like, with the F1 experiences, you have to book like all 3 days, like it's a 3-day. Whereas if you book
Yeah.
through like P1
Hmm.
Travel, they have like mixed packages where you can do like 1 day of this, 1 day of this, 1 day of this. So I'm waiting for the P1 Travel packages to come on sale, because this last year they had one that was Friday paddock, Saturday yacht, hospitality, Sunday grandstand. And I'm like, that would be my dream lineup. And that one was like 800 a person. And I'm like, okay, if I'm flying to Dubai, I'm down to do that. So we'll see. Give myself a little Christmas present for next year.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool if you can make it
Yeah,
happen.
it'd be one hell of a gift.
Well, we're doing less races next year. Like this year we did it big. Like this year we did NASCAR at Coda, and then we did Miami, and then we did IndyCar at Laguna Seca, and we did hospitality there, and then we did Austin, and then we did Vegas. So it was like we had a lot of races that we did this year, and we, for some of those races we did like very nice tickets. So next year will be my peasant year other than Abu Dhabi.
She calls it the peasant year.
Yeah, traveling all over the world for
It's gonna
motorsports, and it's the
feel like
peasant year.
that.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
crazy.
But
Welcome
that's
to
why
how
I work
normal
so
people
hard.
live.
I work so hard so we can get my airline miles to go to races, and so that we can use my hotel points to go to races. Well, let's get into the 2025 Apex Awards. We have 5 awards on deck today. We're going to be starting off with our least favorite race of the season, which does get an award. We're going to do our favorite race of the season, which gets an award. Rookie of the year. And then we will go into teams, where we are going to grade all of the teams A through F, and we will award the top team by average and the lowest team by average. So we've got some work to do, but there are medals to be had, because this would not be an award ceremony without some medals here. So let's start off first with our least favorite race of the season. And I'm going to start with you, Josh. So let's hear it. What was your least favorite race of the season and why? And then Paul will come to you.
Well, first off, I think we should just skip Paul because we know what he's going to say anyway. It's not really much of a surprise. No, my least favorite race, I think, this year was Qatar. So it's a track that I don't particularly favor anyway. It's not very racy. It only has one good overtaking zone. But I think even the lead up to the weekend, we had this championship battle kind of brewing. We had a lot of hype going into the week, and then we got an absolute snooze fest. So to me, between the racing not being very good in general, but then just all the hype and the buildup going into it, I just felt a little let down by the old Qatar Grand Prix there. So that would have been my least favorite, just all around.
You could also say Qatar or Qatar. Okay, Paul, coming to you. What was your least favorite race of the season?
This is no shocker to anybody. Everybody knows what I'm going to say. Josh was right. We can just go ahead and skip me. Monaco.
Also, I literally already wrote it.
See, right there. It's like you knew what was going to happen. Monaco, least favorite. I hate it. It's dumb. I get the history behind it. I've said it numerous times. It's a great historical track. Lots of great stuff has happened. You just can't race there anymore.
I'm excited to see the race in 2026 to see if the difference in the cars impacts the race. But I do want to push you. I want you to watch the Formula E Monaco Grand Prix this year.
Yeah, that
Because
was
I
on.
think it will change your mind on what is possible in racing in Monaco. Like,
Yeah,
it's not the track, it's the car.
absolutely.
I want you
Absolutely.
to watch that one.
Yeah, that's on my to-do list for this winter break.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like
so either
that.
that or watch you an F2 race over there. Like even 2
Yeah.
years ago, the battle
Yeah.
between it was Kimi and Ollie when they were teammates in F2. They were battling really, really hard in Monaco. That's a good one to go watch on YouTube if you can find
Big
it.
one. And if you haven't seen Isaacs in the tunnel, one of the most iconic
Yeah, that was
avoiding
in,
a
qual- in
wrecks. I don't.
yeah in
I'm like,
qualifying. I don't know
yeah,
how he
I don't
did
know
that.
what a term is for that. Avoiding a wreckness.
I have a lot of watching to do, I guess.
You do. Okay, my least favorite race of the season was the Canadian Grand Prix. If you recall, it's probably obvious because I am a McLaren fan. That was right in the middle of the summer when Lando and Oscar were like battling it out. Oscar had been killing it at the first half of the season. and they were battling it out on track. And then Lando made a mistake and it ended his race. But I think the other reason why I thought the Canadian Grand Prix was my least favorite race of the season was because Canada with the rain is always anticipated to just be like absolutely crazy. And like anything can happen in Canada. Rain's the great equalizer. And then it was like, wah, wah, wah. So like outside of the moment with Lando and Oscar, there was not a ton that happened in Canada where I thought there was a lot of potential, especially with the forecast that we had. And then it just like dissipated and then went away and was like a dry race day. So I thought there was a lot of hype about what could have happened at Canada. And then honestly, the only thing exciting that happened that day was Lando crashing out. And that was devastating to me. So that's why Canada was my least favorite race of the season. So there are our awards for least favorite race of the season.
And I think that's a phrase of this generation car, the potential to have a great race. And then you get to Sunday and it just turns into a big dud. I'm really hoping, and I hope I don't regret it, but I'm really hoping this next generation of cars just gives us something more. And I've talked about it ad nauseum, but potential is always the key word for this generation.
I agree. I had never thought about it like that. It's like we always talk about potential for the weekend, and the fact that we're talking about weather being the influencer of whether or not we're going to have an exciting race, like, come on. And then, we've talked about it a lot, like qualifying. If qualifying determines how the race is going to go, I think both of your races, Qatar and Monaco are testaments to that of like, if you don't qualify well, like that's pretty much where you're starting. Where I do think what was interesting with that though is like, I do feel like Ferrari did very well in terms of like when they qualified like crap and we're stuck at the back of the grid, somehow coming from behind, that makes them make moves. I think Lewis, we saw it a ton with Lewis this season and even a lot with Charles. When they sucked at qualifying and were starting in the back of the grid, they still were able to overtake in some of those tracks, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I think that shows you the gap between the top teams, quote, with Ferrari, because they weren't really up there, but they were, competitive sometimes. But I think it shows you the true difference between the top 4 teams and everyone else. We didn't see the McLarens. We didn't see Mercedes really qualify very low. We saw Ferrari do it often. So we got to see Ferrari's pace it from the midfield and from the back markers a little bit more frequently. So I would, if we had seen maybe McLaren with a Q1 exit at some point, we would have been saying like, oh man, look how fast they were going through, getting through the fields.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that just kind of shows you just how, even though the differences are, milliseconds, they add up over the course of a race and can at least get you some better positions.
Absolutely. So let's move on to our favorite race of the season. And this time I will come to you first, Paul. Who, what, where, favorite race of the season?
All right. So this can go 3 different directions.
Ooh.
I really like, the British one, the Great Britain, Silverstone.
I'm like, come
Sorry.
on, Jesus.
Brain fart. This has not kicked in just yet. Silverstone, just because Hulkenberg got his first podium after how many races? Of course, if we're going to be a little sentimental right now, Coda, the 3 of us got a chance to hang out together. It was Josh's and I's first F1 race together and in person. But I think Brazil for me, if I watch it on TV, I just love Brazil. So much fun racing there. And for me, Brazil wins it.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
I think Paul got me pretty good on that one. I think Coda is going to be my favorite. And for one, I thought the sprint race was really fun with the action at Big Red there. That was
watching
really
Isaac crash in front of us was pretty crazy.
Yeah, just being there and thud. Yeah. So I think just being there in person and seeing it live and experiencing a race weekend, that for me just puts it on top for the year. I mean, how could you not, getting to see something like that in person? So that's mine, Coda.
We're very of like mind. So every year I say Coda. And so I pushed myself to go something different. And Paul, I actually went Silverstone. I thought the racing at Silverstone all weekend was incredible. I thought, being able to see Nico get his first podium, Lando get his first home win at Silverstone. I thought some of the overtakes on track that weekend were really incredible. So we didn't just have battles up front. Like obviously being a Lando fan, him winning at Silverstone was special to me. But that race was incredible. But there was another reason it was my favorite race. We kind of started like that little Pine Forest F1 club out on the patio at Pine Forest. And that was one of the first races that we all watched out on the patio. and everybody was like, what are y'all watching? Oh, and everybody kind of was like coming up, and then it kind of became a thing where it was just like, oh, if there's racing on Sunday morning, we're all going to go up and watch F1 before our tea times. So I just think it was like a really cool weekend for me to have like really great racing. Nico got his podium, Lando got his first home win, and then it just like started this thing where it was like, oh, I have other people to watch races with in Houston, and it became a really fun thing. Silverstone won for me, and I loved it. But COTA, super special place in my heart always. That one. And what a great weekend for you guys to have as your first F1 weekend. A super exciting sprint race. We all got to meet for the first time. We partied our balls off. And then Sunday was a blast.
My liver does not like that track, but overall, it was a lot of fun.
You know, we did a lot less damage than we could have, Paul. And I think you were minding your P's and Q's on Friday, and Josh and I were not. Josh and I were like, Patron truck? Should we
Yes,
just
good
keep,
idea. Yes, we
should we
should.
keep going back? Should we have 5? Should
Josh,
we have 5
when-
margaritas? Oh, and if you give this random man an extra $10,
Yeah.
he'll double it up. Like, what? That was not a thing. We lied and
No.
told people that was a thing. We're like, oh, if you pay in cash to this dude over here in this truck.
Just singing karaoke. You two
Karaoke,
were
yep.
just
Oh my
gone.
gosh, we should post some of the hey, a little holiday special. We should post some of our backseat karaoke. I like this.
Man, just advisement, bring the volume down a little when Meredith starts to sing, because man, she got really into it.
I'll lower the volume. I can't help it. I love some backseat karaoke. For those of you who don't know, Teslas apparently have karaoke, and you can turn it on in the car. And so we car karaoke.
We did. We
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Okay, so we did our favorite races. We had COTA, Brazil, and Silverstone. Let's move on to our Rookie of the Year. I will come to you, Paul. Who is your favorite rookie this year?
Isaac. I think he didn't have a great start in Australia. No, I don't even think he finished a lap, and he was
Like
just
turn
destroyed,
one.
and it
Yeah,
was just
formation.
awful. And I'm gonna be honest with you, not knowing anything about him, I didn't have any high hopes for him. I don't follow F2 just, as much as Josh or you do. So I literally knew nothing about him. And I was not convinced after his first lap in Australia, but I think he really came to his own. He really did amazing for the team. And I think I have to give the Rookie of the Year to him. I think he showed great progress. I'm still uncertain how he's going to do next year in Red Bull, moving up with a lot more pressure placed on him for a team that, has to be winning or has to be a top 3 team. So that's a conversation for another day. But for the 2025 year, I think Isaac won it for me.
All right, Josh, who you got?
Yeah, this one was tough. I think there's a good argument for several of the rookies.
100%.
This one was
Oh,
my
yeah.
hardest. This was my hardest
I think this one
pre-work
was.
to do.
Mine as well. I think I sat
Because the easy
here.
answer is like Kimmy, right? Because he had such a rocket ship, and he got a lot
And he's
of points.
higher in the points. Yeah, but then
Yeah.
I even thought briefly about Gabby with he showed some good pace in qualifying. He was taking that car a complete shitbox. He actually was able to get some performance out of that and kept up with his teammate pretty well. I mean, Franco's another good option because he was right there with as far as qualifying pace with his teammate. So I think there were some arguments to be made for several of the guys up and down the grid. But my Rookie of the Year is Ollie Behrman. I think Ollie showed the most. He put his teammate under the most pressure. I think Ollie was better than Ocon this year as far as head-to-head and qualifying performances. And I was very impressed by Ollie's racecraft throughout the year. He had quite a few very, very good overtakes that were ballsy, that many rookies may not have chosen to try to take on. A lot of veterans would have, maybe thought twice about it. So
Yeah.
I see a lot of potential in Ollie. He seems to be very quick in qualifying. He seems to be very good just managing tires, managing his racecraft. So I've got a lot of high hopes for Ollie. I think he's showing us that he has a lot of potential, and I think he's my Rookie of the Year.
I was torn on mine. And when you were talking about all the other rookies and you had not mentioned Ollie, I'm like, I'm sorry, did we forget this season's performance? But
No, we did not forget.
You saved your best for last. I was actually torn between Ollie and Isaac, and I did ultimately go with Isaac. I think Ollie progressed more. And by the end of the season, it was like, wow, holy shit, he found his footing and he is doing incredible. And I mean, I've already told y'all, I think Ollie will be driving for Ferrari in the next 2 years. I
Yeah,
think
no
that is a
doubt.
natural
I
progression,
agree.
in my opinion. To me, I think Isaac delivered more consistently. It was like, could you imagine a worse start to your F1 career than doing what Isaac did? And then I think his recovery and how he delivered pretty consistently throughout the season. And even when he didn't score in the points, unless something happened in his race, he was usually, in that 12 zone. He was usually in that 11, 12, 13, even when he wasn't in the points. He had a couple of dud races, but I think Isaac just delivered absolutely consistently. It was extremely impressive. I'm super excited to see him continue with the Red Bull Academy. I think that I would have preferred him to stay in VCARB just because I think if we could have given him a second year to get comfortable in that car, and just really get used to it and then progress up, then I think we would have seen. I think it would have been really good for him for his mental fortitude. I do think that maybe the decision was based on the fact that 2026 is a new car regulation, and maybe they thought keeping him in VCARB another year will not give him an advantage if we have all new cars. All new cars are a wash anyway, so maybe they just thought, let's move him up. But I think my rookie of the year does go to Isaac. I'm super excited to see him next year in the Red Bull. I think he will learn a lot from Max because I think he's an aggressive driver like Max in a good way. I think both of them know when to hold the line, when to be aggressive, when to go in, and also when to pull back. So I'm excited to see him learn from him. Question for you guys. Did y'all see Isaac's merch that he dropped, his merch
Mm-mm.
collection?
No,
Mhm.
I didn't. I need to look that up
It
now.
is incredible. Now, will I be buying any right now? Probably not, because I really blew it out of the water on merch this year. I need to reduce my spending on motorsport merch. But the hoodies, clean lines, we're talking rich navies, emerald greens, white stitching, the hats. My God, the hats. I don't have room for any more hats, but I think this is by far the best merch collection a driver has put out. It is classic, timeless. The t-shirts are not a ton of big graphic logos. It's more embossing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty cool.
it is insane. Like the white embossed t-shirt, I'm like, give me one. Give me 5 of them. I don't need white plain t-shirts anymore. I only want to be repping the Isaac Hajar merch. So 10 out of 10 on your merch, Isaac. Great job, team. Love it. If anybody is listening and wants to get me a late Christmas present, Isaac Hajar
Oh,
merch
yeah.
is on the list.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Very clean. Compared to like other drivers, I really like it. It's not in your face, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, I just think like what a good move on branding, especially right now when like brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren are really coming back and making a huge presence in the sport, which that aesthetic is a very clean, simple aesthetic. So I think what a great move for Isaac's brand to be a clean, simple aesthetic, which matches that merchandise of the upper echelon of the motorsport fan. So I think he nailed it. Good job, Isaac.
Yeah. But getting back to all the rookies, I think all of them met the expectations that came into the year with. I don't think anybody was expecting, Ali to win a race or Gabby to, do these great things with their team. I think with their team and the expectations that we were hoping they'd have this year, I think everybody met the expectations. And I don't know if that goes to F2 being so good in preparing these guys for F1 or if the teams are this good in preparing the drivers once they're already there. But, we all thought, and I think Josh and I talked about it when we had this podcast early on this year. And then when Meredith joined throughout the year, we all thought it was going to be a huge decline. Like, it's going to be carnage. They're going to crash every weekend and there's going to be car parts flying everywhere. And honestly, no, I think they all did what they needed to do. They all kept it clean. Yeah, there was a few mistakes, but hell, you saw that with everybody in the grid. So kudos to all the drivers. They all did great. And yeah, awesome for them.
I think to that point, Paul, I would argue that the rookies did significantly better than I would have predicted this season, especially with how many rookies there were. I think the rookies did better than I had anticipated. I think there's a difference between not crashing out and not causing carnage and like actually performing well. And the fact that it was even, a challenge for us to pick rookie of the year, I think speaks to the testament. I would say that the only drivers that were rookies in my mind that did not deliver like what I would have expected, or like maybe it's just a comparison against the rest of the field of the rookie classes, like Jack Doohan and Franco Colapinto.
But
And
also,
I
that car
would
was a
argue,
dud.
I was going to say, I would argue that that is not them. That is the car. That is the coaching over there right now. That is, Alpine is a tough place to be right now. And I don't think that is on them.
Because
Has done incredible. In other series, Franco Colapinto, we saw what he did in a Williams last year.
yeah,
So
that's
I think that one is a testament to the car, not to them. And I hate that y'all know, and I shared this, I hate that Jack's time ended the way it did, that he wasn't given longer, because it's not him, it's the car, it's a shit
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, I was gonna say we saw what Franco can do in a Williams car, which even last year was a bit of a dud, if you might be able to use
Right.
that word, and he still, got a few points and
Yeah.
fought with Alex. So
Yeah, I mean, I got so much hate online last year because I said that, when Franco came in and immediately started delivering, I was like, if Franco continues to do this, Alex should be worried for his seat. And people were like sending me death threats. They're like, "You're an idiot. You know nothing." And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm just going based on the points. So let's move to the one that's probably going to be the most time consuming, and let's do our grading of the teams. Now, Paul gave us the challenge of doing an A through an F grading, and we will go in alphabetical order, not in preferential order. So we'll just go down the list. We'll just kind of give a quick overview of each one, and then I'll kind of, as I'm looking through it, I'll kind of do like an average of what we gave them, and then we'll be able to pick our top performing team and lowest performing team. So let's start with Alpine. Josh, I will come to you first. What grade do you give Alpine this year?
I gave them an F. They were terrible. Not a whole lot going on in any respect. They're even from off the track. They're from a team standpoint. They're closing down their works. They're no longer a works team. They're now a customer team. They closed down their power unit department. They had issues with the drivers. They had issues controversially off the track with comments made by their illustrious CEO or whatever his title is today.
Whatever
They
he
just-
is.
Yeah.
ruler.
Grand Czar, whatever
The
he wants to be today.
oligarch, the Alpine oligarch.
So I think they need a reset. They can get it running with a different power unit and having a little bit more support instead of trying to do it all in house, which has proven to be pretty unsuccessful for them over the last several years. So not a whole lot to say about them. They didn't do anything. Even at least last year, we had the double podium in Brazil that at least you could point to and say, hey, look, they did something. Nothing.
Yep.
They got nothing.
This is a no-brainer. Big ol' F. They did awful. It was an awful showing for them, and I think they'll admit it was an awful showing. Somehow they convinced these two drivers to re-sign with the team, or they convinced Pierre to re-sign with the team, and I don't think they had much of an option but to re-sign Franco with all the money that comes from South America. Hopefully they can turn the team around. I think now that they're more of a customer team, maybe that puts less pressure on the team to create something, but it was an awful showing. I think we can all agree that even the team could agree that they want 25 to just be erased for them.
Agreed. Straight Fs across the board for all the reasons that were stated. No further description required. Aston Martin, Paul, will come to you first.
This one's tough, right? Because on paper, they should be better than they were. I'm going to give them a C. I think on paper, they were supposed to be better. They have all the money in the world. Seemingly, it's just a money pit. I mean, not a money pit. They're just printing out money left and right. They have all the nicest things in the world. They should have been better. But when you have an idiot like Lance driving and Fernando, who's seemingly doing the best he can, but that car was just a dud, I give him a C. They have more potential than that. So
okay, Josh.
I also gave them a C. It seemed like it's a tale of two teams. At the beginning of the year, they just had no pace. They absolutely were a non-factor. A lot of mistakes. They had several issues that probably were out of their control as far as the power unit that caused some DNFs. So we'll miss down maybe some point opportunities at Monaco with Fernando is a notable one that they probably could have picked up some good points. But towards the end of the season, they did have some more pace. We saw much better qualifying performances from Fernando, which ended up leading to a good points grab in the last handful of races after the summer break. So gave them a C. I think that they seem to be trying to put the pieces in the right place. Everything except their driver on the other side of the garage. Lance is just a hindrance. It doesn't matter how much money you spend or how much development of the car or who your team principal is now with Adrian. If you don't have somebody that can drive it and can perform, then you're going to miss out on any of the benefits from building your franchise. So we'll see what they do next year.
And also, like, he shows no interest in like enjoying to do
Yeah.
this.
And for those reasons, I actually gave them a D. This is no hate on Fernando Alonso, but it's like, what in the world are you doing? Like, how the mighty have fallen. Like, Fernando Alonso, by any measure, could still be winning world titles if he was given the right weapons. Like, he's incredible. And so I think for me, I actually am giving Aston Martin a D, because not only do they have all the resources and capital in the world, I mean, like, Lawrence Stroll has so much money, the sponsors they've brought in, I mean, they have money pouring in. They have incredibly talented teams and engineers. They have an incredibly talented driver in Fernando Alonso. I actually do think Lance Stroll could be good. I think he does not want to. He does not, to me, show the desire or the drive to do this. And I think there are so many other talented drivers and upcoming that like could actually even bring in more sponsorships to Aston Martin. Like, and if Lawrence Stroll is the incredible businessman that he is, like, to me, that's why he deserves a D, because they're making the choice to leave Lance Stroll in that seat just because it's his son, when there could be other drivers that could perform better. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at what the rookies did this year. Fernando Alonso, our favorite grandfather rookie, I mean, like, he deserves more. He deserves a teammate that could be growing and developing with him, and somebody who wants this, not just a family business. So I gave a D, but we'll give them a cumulative C- since y'all both gave them Cs. Moving on to the pain that is Ferrari. We will go with Paul first. What do you give Ferrari this year?
That's another team that on paper should have been better than they were, especially coming out of the 24 season when the car was doing so good. I got to give them a D. Because it just seems like they kept shooting themselves in the foot. I don't think they handled Lewis Hamilton coming over the right way. The fact that both drivers were not giving the answers, both drivers were out there trying their best. And even whoever that idiot president CEO of Ferrari coming out and saying, talk less, drive more, whatever the quote was, it was an awful showing. That team should have been better. They have two amazing drivers. They have an 8-time world champion on their team. That team should have been better, and it was just awful. It was tough to watch. I mean, you saw them. They completely took the air out of these drivers, and it was deflating. And we care so much about these guys, and when they go on camera, and it's just all they could do is just shrug their shoulders. It was tough to watch. And I love Ferrari. I mean, much like Michael Schumacher said years ago, everybody's a Ferrari fan. They just don't know it. You know, F1 is a better league, better sport when Ferrari does good. And just watching how bad, they were doing week in and week out, I got to give them a D.
Josh, what about you?
I gave them a C-. Coming into the season, there was a lot of hope, a lot of expectation that they could be competitive. Maybe not, as competitive as McLaren, but competitive nonetheless. They made a decision to completely redo their car, which I will never understand that, coming into the last year of a regulation cycle and then putting all that development time into a new car structure just doesn't really make any sense. But, even off track, had so many issues politically with their own management and leadership structure, had issues with radio communication, had issues just all across the board. Now, it's hard to argue that they were competitive occasionally. They did end up with a lot of points. Lewis got a sprint win. Charles has plenty of podiums in that car. So it's hard to completely give them a failing grade for the year. I would say that they would think that this was a complete failure of a season. But at the end of the day, they did get enough points to maintain a decent place in the constructors, which leads them to a lot of money for the next year. So it's hard to completely fail them out. So
I was with Paul. I gave them a D. I think, technically speaking, you're right, Josh. They did score some points. They did get Lewis a sprint win, but I think the way they communicated with their drivers, both directly to them on radios and the way that they allowed team and employees of Ferrari to speak about them in the press, literally watching their like joy drain from both of these drivers that are incredibly strong, resilient drivers, to me, that pushed them over into a D. So like, even though you accomplished some things on track and were able to put some stuff together towards the end of the season because of the way you handled your drivers, to me, that's immediate D. Boom. Bye. So that was mine. So we'll give them a D plus since you knocked them into the C realm. So we'll give them a D plus.
I mean, they accomplished the mission to just ruin Lewis, and he went on publicly said, it's not the car, it's me. Clearly, you saw Charles was doing good. You saw a 7-time, 8-time, whatever you want to argue, world champion just completely destroy himself.
Yeah, there is a show called Vanderpump Rules on that was on Bravo, and then it moved over to a show called The Valley, and there's a character, her name is Brittany on there. And every time she talked about like divorcing her ex, she'd be like, Jax, you made me lose my sparkle. You made me lose my sparkle. She's from Kentucky and has the biggest Hicks accent. But literally, we watched Lewis Hamilton lose his sparkle this season. So I hope he gets it back over the off season. It looks like he's been relaxing. He went to Denver, went to a football game at the Broncos since he's a part owner and that. So hopefully he's refilling his bucket and coming back for a good season. Okay, Josh, we will start on Haas with you. What did you give Haas this season?
I give Haas a B minus. Good season, I think, by their standards. Let's see, they ended up in 8th. So not as good as the year before. Kind of in that points battle there with Austin Martin and Sauber. I thought they had some decent qualifying. Ollie was a bright, shining, good part of that season. They'll point to that and be like, Ollie Behrman's rookie year was fantastic. First year, Ayu Komatsu has the team. I think he showed that he really can put a team together and has a really good technical aspect that they were probably missing before that. So I think they did decent, but not a lot to really put them into the A's. It was a good year for them as a midfield team, but I wouldn't say it was great.
Okay, Paul?
I got to give them a C+. I think they did exactly what they needed. They exceeded expectations maybe a little bit, but going from a garbage team that they were a couple years ago, you can't get, things can only move in one direction. That's up when you've hit, rock bottom. So I can definitely see the picture and the image of a future for them that's bright. I think they have a bright future with Ollie until, Ferrari snags them up. But all in all, I think they did a great team. They had a great year, had a great team, both good drivers. And I'd say it was just average.
I gave them a C. I thought it was average. I think they had two things working against them in terms of where I ranked them. Number one, State kick Sauber, whatever the hell Lime Green team is. They somehow put together a season. So they had that working against them. And then also last year, the reason they had that mid-season boost is because they had Toyota Gazoo Racing with that massive capital investment and sponsorship right around the time of COTA. So they had that like last push of the season where they got double sprint points, double race points the next day. So they had a massive points infusion in that latter half of the season for them once Toyota Gazoo Racing came in that bumped them up in the championship last year over some of their competitors. And they didn't have that this season to give them that edge off. So it's like you didn't have a massive new sponsor come in. Now I know Toyota Gazoo Racing is now taking the name title sponsor for them for next season, but they didn't have that massive investment that led to a new innovation in the car this season. And they just didn't put together a season like State did. So I gave them a C, which I think puts them at an overall kind of just like C flat for us. But I agree, average season, nothing crazy to write home about, but super excited to see what they put together for next season.
Can we briefly talk about Toyota is dumping so much money into motorsports? They
have been. They have been, just not in F1. Like Toyota Gazoo Racing is killing it.
Is there a series that they're not doing? Because they got NASCAR, F1, they got WEC and IMSA. I mean, man, they're dumping money into everything. Good for them. I love it.
Good for them. I love it. I think it's gonna be hi, buddy. I think they're a manufacturer and sports team to watch. Come here, hi. You want to say hi to everybody? No, staying off camera. Okay,
I'm shy.
He is. Gravy is my little shy guy. He's our little timid, sweet German Shepherd boy. He's a good boy, though. Okay, with that, we will move to McLaren. All right, Paul, we will come to you first.
I don't know. Like you want to give him. I want to give him an A, right? They are the constructors champion. Lando Norris won the world title, but I guess I'm going to go with A minus.
Okay.
Because they had a great year. They did exactly what everybody thought they were going to do. But I think all the issues with Papaya Rules and Zach Brown coming out and saying stupid things on TV, and it was just, they should have just had a year where they're dominating, and that was it, right? We didn't need the extra footnote and crap that they had. So yeah, I mean, they had a great year. Awesome. I'm happy for them. They swept it. They won both championships. but it's all the other crap that came with it. It was like, we don't have a number one driver, and this and that, and we got to hold hands and sing Kumbaya together because we're best friends. It was just, for me personally, it's a win, but it leaves a sour taste in your mouth.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I'm right there with Paul. A minus for me. They did everything on paper that they were supposed to do, but they took the long way to get there, it felt like.
A long, windy, bumpy road. Like, they could have just gone A, B, done.
It could have been a lot easier for them. There was really no external competition. I mean, Red Bull towards the end there, but I think that's solely only because of McLaren's faults that Red Bull even had a chance anyway. I think the team management side of things really dumbs the season down for him. I think that if it hadn't been for some of the comments made for this wholesome, we're one team, one fight, even though we've got two drivers that are very hard competing for the same thing, it could have been handled differently, and maybe I would have had a different opinion. But they did win both trophies, so it's hard to say that they had a bad season at all by any metric, right? The only person that's going to say that they had a bad year is Oscar Piastri. So A minus.
I was actually a little harsher. I gave them a B for the same reason that I dropped Ferrari to a D. You cannot do to your drivers what Ferrari and McLaren did to their drivers. I would argue that the best 4 drivers on the grid right now, well, 5 if we include Max, best 4 drivers on the grid right now would be Lewis, Charles, Oscar, Lando, and then add in Max. Those are my best 5 drivers on the grid right now. And for 2 teams to absolutely fumble the way they treat their drivers, speak to their drivers, the dynamic they create, that's unacceptable to me. So I dropped them down to a B for the same reason I dropped Ferrari down to a D. And so that puts our cumulative. I would still put McLaren at an A minus with both of you guys giving them an A minus. That's being generous for me because I'm still very mad at them because I don't think what happened this season is acceptable. Even being a huge Lando fan, I love Oscar too. And what they did to Oscar and the papaya rules, not like they've got to figure out that, because what's going to happen is like they can continue to do we don't have a number one driver. What's going to happen is that means Oscar's going to leave. No questions about it. Like if you're going to continue to do this, we're not going to, then you're going to continue to lose, and it's going to be a revolving door of other incredible drivers. So we'll overall put them at an A minus. Let's move on to Mercedes. I'll start this one. I gave Mercedes an A. I think they had an incredible season. They had a strong car. Both drivers delivered pretty consistently. Rookie Kimi exceeded my expectations with very big shoes to fill. And I think George Russell just showed incredible performance this season. He delivered consistently. The last 2 to 3 seasons, every race that George was doing really good, I was like, oh, when is he going to send it into the wall? When is he going to wreck into another driver? And honestly, just like the best radios. I love George's radios. I look forward to it every season, but this year was incredible.
I just
think Mercedes just delivered consistently, put it together. I'm so excited to see them too. Just much like I feel about Haas, very excited to see those two continue. I was very, very worried mid-season with those rumors of Max to Mercedes, just because I think that George and Kimi are such a strong pairing with a lot of potential. So I'm very excited to see what Mercedes puts together. Rumors are their 26 car is going to be fantastic. So very excited to see them in 26. I thought A flat, nothing to complain about with Mercedes this year. I will go to Paul.
You got to give them an A. I think they did exactly what they needed to do. There's no rumor that they've had an awful showing with the regulations that just ended. They couldn't figure out the car. We saw the issues with Lewis, after 21. I think they had a great year. Fought towards the top. Kimi did a great year, and much like you said, he had some big shoes to fill. And naturally, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, Kimi had a great year.
Thinking is hard in the morning.
Who decided to do an 8 a.m. podcast? I don't know.
And who was late to the 8 a.m. podcast that they suggested that time?
What an idiot that guy is. But I think we
shows up in an Alpine sweatshirt.
I think we saw some maturity from George. I still think his radio messages are whiny and I can't stand them. But I think we saw some maturity in him. We saw him taking that leadership role that Toto wanted him to do. And I think the team just did exactly what the team needed to do, and it's an A for the team.
Can I ask a question? Do y'all think that he matured as a driver this season? Like, do we think his driving got better, or do we think that his mental, just like leadership game, like of becoming the number one driver, being able to kind of be that leader, that mentor to Kimmy, do we think that that just made him a more level driver? Like, I personally can't say whether I think he became a better driver this season or if his improvement mentally led to more consistent drives. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I'm going to say both. I think the mental maturity really helped them off track and on track. I think maybe that's why Mercedes in total waited so long this year to re-sign him, because they
Oh,
wanted to see the growth and they wanted to see, can he lead a rookie driver? Not lead, can he lead by example with a rookie
mm,
driver? Because I
I
think
can
the
see that.
last couple of years we saw a lot of mental mistakes, and I think we just overall we saw mature George.
Josh, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on Mercedes?
So I gave them a B plus. Got exactly what we kind of wanted out of them. We didn't think that they were going to be a constructors fighter, but they did perform consistently throughout the year. I think obviously George not having any DNFs is new for him. He's usually good for one or two pretty good shunts throughout the year. On the topic of George, it did seem like he really, really stepped up into that leadership role very well. And it seemed like he took that on his shoulders and he carried it well. And he led Kimmy well. He was good in interviews, just kind of playing the team game and doing what needs to be done media wise. That usually would have been handled by Lewis in years past. So I thought Mercedes performed well. The reason I knocked him down from an A was because it seemed like out of any of the manufacturers, they had the most issues, like not just in Mercedes itself, but as far as like other customer teams, they had the most DNFs due to power failures. So it's hard to not count that at some point. A lot
Right.
of people, I mean, we saw Carlos have issues. We saw Fernando have issues. We saw, several Mercedes. We had a whole thing earlier in the year with the Mercedes power unit. It was kind of a whole running gag. So it's hard to not count that against them at some point, whether or not that really factors into to Mercedes points itself, or, their letter grade itself. I chose to include it. It's hard to not
Yeah.
think about the team as a totality and not just as the racing aspect, B plus.
Okay. So I think that brings our cumulative there to an A minus. Okay, let's move to Red Bull. Paul, thoughts on Red Bull? Which I love that when I did the Chat GPT image of us for the holidays, it threw you as a Red Bull fan and put a Red Bull flag behind you.
Yeah, I think you got to give him an A. I think I might even argue an A plus because they exceeded expectations. Going into this year, you thought McLaren was just going to run away with it, and yes, Red Bull had a tough first part of the season and all the issues off track with Christian Horner. But I think towards the second half, they buckled down. They did what they needed to do. And, yes, some of it was because McLaren shot themselves in the foot, but they really just, they really just tucked it in. They did what they needed to do and they got the points. We saw Max maybe mature, grow differently, but overall the team, in my eyes, exceeded expectations. So you got to give them an A to an A plus.
Josh?
Yeah, I gave him an A. On track, we expect Max to do great things every time he steps in the car. Decisions were made early with Liam to move him out of the seat and give Yuki the spot. Whether that helped or hurt them as far as a teammate to Max and maybe some points throughout the year, you could argue that either way. I think it was probably the right decision. I don't think Liam was really ready for that position. I think that he would have tried to compete too heavily with Max and maybe would have made more mistakes throughout the year. We already saw him, the way he tries to overtake and the way his racecraft is very bargish, right? Like he's going to get elbows out and he's going to make contact if he wants to. And I think if he had been in a position where he was trying to outqualify Max or to do anything related to competing with Max, he would have overstepped his limit and probably done worse. So I think that was a good decision on their part. They had a great couple upgrades throughout the season that really put them in a great spot. Pre-summer break, we thought, man, Red Bull's terrible. They've made some bad decisions. They've got nothing going for them. But then after they got some upgrade packages, they could actually compete with the top four. I think what really bumped them up from a B for me was their decisions to kill the evil Empire, right? The Empire is over. Christian Horner's gone. Helmut Marko was kind of on the way out, sounds like. So it's hard to not look at that and be pretty excited for their future. From all accounts, it seems like Christian was ready to throw in the towel for 2025 and to not continue on with the upgrades and not continue on trying to get any upward growth in 2025. So the fact that Lauren Mickey's comes in, is able to turn the ship around and then battle damn near to a driver's championship is impressive. So I'm going to give Red Bull an A.
We are on vastly different sides of the
Oof.
spectrum on this. I actually gave Red Bull a C.
What the fuck?
Because how do you shit the bed so hard with Max in the first half of the season? For the same reason that Ferrari had a great car last year, and we're like, what the fuck happened the first half of the season? That's how I feel about Red Bull. And Liam was never ready to go into that seat. The decision for Red Bull to put Liam in the seat that first half of the season, it should have been Yuki the whole way along. Like, I'm not saying that Yuki is the answer for that second Red Bull seat. He wasn't, but he was definitely a better answer than Liam was. So for me, the Red Bull recovery in the last 6 races of the season does not do it for me for the horrible decision making of putting Liam in that seat first half of the season. Max, what the fuck happened to the car to have him shit the bed so hard the first half of the season? He didn't even care. He quit trying. He threw the towel in. And to me, I actually think that like Christian leaving, Helmet leaving, a lot of that was because the media pushed it and they got to a point where they had to. Like Red Bull Camp kept Christian for an entire fucking year after all this stuff went down. So to me, the Christian Horner move was too little too late for me. Like the decision was, let's try to save face, because all of a sudden, when Max isn't, it's like when Max was still delivering, we kept Christian, we kept Helmet, we allowed all these things to continue and perpetuate. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, when Max has shit the bed, Liam has shit the bed, we've now had to make driver swaps. Now we'll go into PR mode. So to me, what happened with Red Bull in the last third of the season does not recuperate how terrible the first part of the season was, given how easy it should have been to transition into a strong season this year, the same way it should have been easy for Ferrari to transition with that car. So that's why I gave them a C. To me, I think they made the right moves in that last third of the season. Max's last third campaigning for the driver title was incredible and should be talked about for years to come. But to me, overall, to me, like this last third of the season for Max is a standalone in a quadrant of a shit box that is overall Red Bull. That like if I could just give Max's last part of the season, like that to me is an A+. The rest of it overall is like FFD. So I gave the cumulative C, which puts them, I would say, cumulatively, if you are both giving them A's and I'm giving them a C, I'd give it a strong B. But I don't think, like, I still have no idea how the season started so bad for Red Bull. Like, it's just shocking. But
That's fair.
alas, 2026 will tell a new tale. Interesting to see how it comes out with Ford. I'm very excited to see Ford and see what they do with Red Bull. Very excited to see what they do for their livery reveal. I have applied for every contest entrance to be in Detroit for that. I'm not going to win, but we'll see. Okay, moving on. We have 3 left. So let's go to Steak, Sauber, whatever name it is, soon to be Audi. We'll go to you, Josh.
Probably going to surprise you, but I'm going with the B+.
Whoa.
Yep. So here's my reason. They got a podium, which is more than a lot of midfield teams can say. They had quite a good qualifying record. If you go back and really look at how they qualified throughout the entire year, a lot of Q3 entrances that a lot of other midfield teams couldn't reach. Hulkenberg was consistent with points. Gabby was consistent with points. No, the car was not fantastic. No one expected them to light the world on fire. So if you look at it through that lens, if you would go from a team that was, were they last or second to last in constructors last year, to a team that was competing for podiums occasionally, is a pretty good change of form. So I bumped them up a little bit. I think by their standards and what they would have expected or what we would have expected for their year, I think that they far exceeded my expectations for what I thought they could do. And so I think that if you look at it through that lens, I think you can't discount that they deserve at least a B.
They got 4 points in the 2024 season. They got 70 this year.
So big turn there. And for a team that is knowing that this is the end of the line for them and that there's going to be a massive rebrand, a massive shift in their leadership structure. They could have thrown in the towel and said, it's the last year. We'll see 2026 with Audi, whatever. But they didn't. They trudged on. They said, you know what, let's do the best we can this year with what we've got, and ended up with what they had was pretty good. So I think B+ is good for where I'm at.
You know what? Going into this, I was going to give them a C. But after what Josh had to said, can we just copy and paste what he put and put it under my name too? Because I have to completely agree with everything he said. I got to give him a B. Whatever he said, I'm in. Because he's right. They could have just mailed it in because it's going to be a whole new restructuring next year into Audi. They could have just sent it in and said whatever happens, happens. But no, they competed. They did what they needed to do. Every weekend, Gabby was doing amazing. Hulkenberg got a podium. Oh, great job for the team. I got to give them a B.
I also gave them a B for all said reasons. And again, thinking about like how I did, Ferrari and McLaren, why I dinged them down. I dinged Haas down to a C because of stake, which means they leveled up to a B. I think just what they accomplished this season was incredible. And I think that Nico and Gabby have really great momentum going into next year. They have, I'm excited for so many of the team pairings to be remaining the same to see how they do. But Nico and Gabby specifically, I think Gabby is just one to watch. He was incredible in F2, and I think he has progressed very quickly in a highlighter shitbox, and Nico got his first podium. So I think they've got a lot of really good momentum. I just don't have any idea how that Audi car is going to be. I'm super excited to see it, but B, incredible. I never in a million years would have thought I'd be giving, Stake a B, but very excited for them. I also think that they deserve an extra point for the April Fool's prank that they did on the livery of it looking like a piece of steak. That was hilarious. I fully bought it, and I 10 out of 10 on the PR team there, social media, steak, doing a steak beef livery. That was hilarious, iconic. Okay, bringing it home with 2 to go. Let's go to VCarb, and Josh, we'll start with you.
I gave them a B minus. I think Isaac far exceeded our expectations. And that alone right there bumped me up quite a bit. He got a podium. He was consistent in points. Liam wanted to run into everybody, so I really wanted to give them less just because of his actions and the way he carries himself.
Get out of my way. I'm Liam Lawson.
Yeah, he's just the new torpedo. Like, he's just, I don't know. So it is what it is as far as Liam goes. But I think team performance, getting points that they did, getting a podium, B plus. Or I'm sorry, B minus.
I got to give him a B. And I think the saving grace was Isaac and how good he did. So, yeah, I think they had a good year. To me, they exceeded expectations a little bit. But, Liam was Liam. I think we saw a dip in him mentally after leaving the Red Bull. And he couldn't figure out the V car going back into it. But I think he salvaged the season. Isaac did great. Overall, I got to give him a B.
Awesome. I gave him a flat B as well. I think they have incredible talent. I think the Red Bull Driver Academy does the best job of identifying, coaching, and pipelining the talent there. I'm really, really excited to see how Arvid does with VCarb next year. I think him and Liam will be a great pairing. I think it'll be interesting to watch their driver styles as a team and see how they get coached. Yeah, I'm super excited for VCarb. I think overall pretty consistent. I will say I think it was nice to see Liam improve. Moving him back down to VCarb from Red Bull, I'm sure broke his heart, but I actually think it was the best thing for his career. I think if he would have stayed in that Red Bull seat, I do not think we would see him on the 26 grid. So although it may have hurt his feelings, I think it saved Liam's career to move back down and to see him be coached and developed. And I think it was a really good move on their part. And I think, they want to see him do well. I think the coaching was very clear. I think he improved throughout the season. Isaac did incredible. Excited to see him in Red Bull. So will be a great 2026. We'll see what they put together again with a Ford engine. Well, who knows?
Yeah, I think Liam's probably, I think his name's on the chopping block, to be honest.
1,000%.
I think
1,000%. I was just saying, I think him moving down to VCarb saved his career this year. But I think if he does not
deliver
he acts like
this again,
he's...
Because with all the stuff coming out with, obviously Marco's trying to set the world on fire on the way out. Reasonable crash out there.
Crash out.
It sounds like they wanted to get rid of Liam anyway. They didn't want him on the grid in 26. So the fact that he's still there, he's on borrowed time. Birds are going
those
crazy.
Parakeets in the background are. I would straight up have a Dumb and Dumber Pretty Bird moment right now.
Moving on.
Can we? Bottle to pop a cork. PETA, if you're listening, I did not say that. Okay, so that gives us an overall rating B for VCarb. And let's bring it on home with Williams. And I'm going to start this one. A. Williams gets an A. There is no reason they should have delivered what they delivered this year. Alex, Alex was the veteran driver coming into this season. He had a strong start to the season. Obviously, with having limited financial resources for Williams, like they're only going to be able to do, like one car at a time kind of at the beginning of the season. Alex should have been getting the preferential treatment up front, and he did. Carlos trudged through it, gave him great feedback. Immediately, the chemistry between Alex and Carlos was incredible in terms of driver partner. I think even at the beginning of the season, when Williams was not delivering for Carlos, we saw Alex doing well, and we did not see Carlos deteriorate the entire time. Him and James both came out in the media. They were naming what it was. To me, James Vowles' leadership, I know we've talked about it before. I think James Vowles is the best team principal on the grid. He did not do what some of these other team principals did and come out and blame the drivers or blame this and that. He came out, he owned it. This is what we're doing about it. We've got to make the car better for Carlos. We've got to listen to his feedback, blah, blah, blah. And then they did, and they delivered on it. 2 Williams podiums in a season, like that's incredible. No notes, keep going, keep progressing. I do think what will be interesting to see is the evolution of the team. Alex had a strong first half of the season. Carlos had a strong second half of the season. So I think it will be interesting to see as they go into the 2026 season and how they progress. Who are they going to put as the number one driver? It made sense to put Alex as the number one driver this season because he was the veteran. But if Carlos continues to deliver, given equal, machinery, it would make sense to me that they would default Carlos as the lead driver. And it would be interesting to see what that does for Alex's mentality. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. A in my book.
Yeah, I think I can speak for all of us. A.
Yeah, I had A written. I think that what they did this season, I mean, for a team that had told us going into it, hey, don't expect anything. We're not trying to spend a lot of money, and we're trying to put all our eggs in the 26 basket. That team ended up with 2 podiums and looked extremely strong throughout at least the back half of the season. A couple rocky starts there for Alex. Honestly, Alex was my negative factor here. It looked really, up front in the beginning of the year, he was performing better than Carlos as Carlos got used to the car. But then as soon as Carlos settled in and got comfortable and really understood how that car handled, it was worlds away. Right. And Alex having a lot of time in that car and that seat really should have outperformed Carlos, or at least been neck and neck for most of the season. And it seemed like Carlos kind of took it and ran. It would be to me that, Carlos is the number one driver in that team now. If Alex has a drop in performance, he could be another one that I could see, starting to be moved off the grid. That could be a potential if he doesn't adapt to a 26 car, or if anything else happens. He's had years in Formula One at this point. He's had runs in Red Bull. It's the natural progression. So if he can't find his pace, he could be one I could see getting looked at through a negative lens. So, but as far as a team, Williams far exceeded expectations that anybody had, and probably what they had as well. If they really are spending all their money in 2026, they could be very strong contenders next year.
We live in a world where Williams got 2 podiums and Lewis Hamilton got 0.
It's a good world.
Got a sprint podium.
It doesn't count.
It does count.
It doesn't.
Leah got a Williams jacket for Christmas, and it is perfection. It's like the old school yellow and blue. It's like a windbreaker material. And I was like,
oh, so that's super cool.
God, that's good.
That's really
She
cool.
sent us the video of it yesterday, and I was like, oh, yeah, wow, excellent. I cannot wait to get a piece of Williams merch this year. I got to decide what I'm going to go with, but I got to financially recover from all the merch I bought this year. But I agree with you, Josh. I do think that in a pipeline dream of mine, I actually was really hoping that Schumacher would get signed by Alpine and that they would have given Colapinto the boot, because Colapinto was on loan from Williams.
Right.
My wish was that Colapinto could have gone back to Williams as a reserve driver, and that he could have continued to develop, and that whenever the time came for Williams to make a change, not saying that I don't want Alex on the grid. I like Alex. I love Alex and Carlos together specifically, especially because they both came from the Red Bull Driver Academy program. They've been through the thick of it together. They understand what it's like, and I think it makes them really strong teammates. But whenever Williams does make a change in the future, I think it would have been an incredible opportunity for Franco Colapinto to be a reserve driver, to continue to grow, because I think Williams is going nowhere but up, and I think it would have been great. So that's what I wish would have happened. It's not. Do y'all know who the Williams reserve driver is? I'm like,
yeah, I was just thinking about that. I don't offhand.
do a little internet search. Who is the Williams F1 reserve driver? Oh, wait,
No.
No, that says Colapinto. That's not true. I have no idea. Previous drivers before Colapinto, Jack Aitken. Never even heard of that name. Williams didn't have a publicly announced dedicated reserve driver, potentially utilizing their engine supplier Mercedes resources.
Yeah, and so that's what I was going to say is I would have thought it would have been Valtteri, but we saw Valtteri test in McLaren this year, so it was a well-known deal that he was at least dabbling in the other manufacturers or other teams' cars just because they are the power unit manufacturer, and he could step in pretty easily, at least understanding the systems and the control systems, the softwares. It wouldn't be as hard to adapt to that car. I couldn't think of a name offhand, so that is surprising that they don't have one.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to announce that we have our biggest loser, Alpine. So excellent choice of merch today, Paul. Our biggest loser was Alpine with a consistent 3 Fs across the board. And our big Apex Award of Team of the Season, our winner is Williams with 3 straight A's across the board. Close behind was Mercedes. Mercedes came in just behind with an A-. We had 2 A's and a B+ there. So Mercedes was close behind, but with 3 A's across the board. Williams gets our big 2025 Apex Award for Team of the Year. So great jobs, James, Carlos, Alex, everyone back at the factory. This one is for you. Williams 2026. We begin our campaign. Williams 2026. If you need a podcast to come do content to hype you up, we're ready. Paul's ready to get a tattoo.
Let's do it. I'll get a Williams tattoo.
We're ready. He's going to etch a W into his mustache. Oh my gosh, can y'all both please do that?
Get a W's.
But that brings our awards to a conclusion. Overall closing thoughts on the 2025 season. I know we're all ready for the new regulation of cars. We're excited to see Cadillac enter the grid. We're excited to see Audi join the grid and replace Stake Sauber Kick F1 team. So any other overall thoughts that, maybe you've been brewing on throughout the season that we haven't talked through?
I think if I had to give this year a grade, it's going to have to be a B. I think overall it was a great year. I think we saw the cars a little more competitive. We saw the grid a little more close together. Hey, Papi. Overall, it was a great year. I'm excited, but now I'm even more stoked for 26. Bringing a brand new team starting from zero. What will Cadillac do? I think the 3 of us are pretty much Cadillac fans right now, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a great year.
It has been a great year. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's not very often that you get a 3-way three-way drivers fight. It's something we haven't had in the past. It seems like this regulation cycle has been a tale of dynasties, right? It's been Mercedes absolutely dominating, and then they kind of shifted hands. Red Bull then became the dominant team. So it's not like we've had a lot of really close battles up and down the grid. It's been pretty consistently, dominance on the top end. So it was fun this year to actually have some close battles and get to actually have some drama go down to the last season. That's a lot of fun. We haven't had that in a while. So it was very nice to actually get to kind of have that stress of like, ooh, what's going to happen? I think we were all just kind of biding our time to 26, the new regulations, new teams. As we got towards the end of the year, it became more apparent that like, okay, we're getting kind of tired of this car and the dynamic it brings to the tables. All eyes now on 26. Maybe not be as fun as 25. This is going to be a complete crapshoot, right? We have no idea what's going to happen, but we can just hope for the best.
I am excited to see the 2026 season. Obviously, duh, who isn't? But I think, I'm excited to see how some of the teams that have been so dominant, like Red Bull, like Mercedes, like McLaren these last couple of years, I'm excited to see how they do with the new regulations. I'm really excited for Cadillac. Joe has gone all in on Cadillac. We got some really sick Cadillac hats that are navy corduroy hats with gold stitching. Dope. Super excited for those. Yeah, I'm super excited to see how teams that have been on the up and up, like Williams, like Haas, how they continue. I'm excited to see if teams like Aston Martin live up to the hype of all the resources. So I think with we're going to be in an entirely new era. I'm really pumped for it. I thought this season was incredible. This season was the most exciting season since I started watching. Like when I think back to like the 2021 season, I was so new into it. that like just seemed like it was just switching from like Lewis to Max. It was like I entered Formula One fanhood when it was the dominance of Lewis to the dominance of Max. And Josh, to your point, it seems like we're now getting to an era where hopefully there's going to be a lot more competition, a lot more closeness. A three-way battle there was really exciting. So hopefully next year we see just as much excitement, even if it's different. Kind of bringing it back full circle to what Paul said at the beginning. It's like if we're talking about certain things being, qualifying positions and weather and things like that being what makes a weekend exciting, then it's not as much fun. So I'm excited for the smaller cars. We got to hear the clips of some of the new sounds of the cars. So I'm pumped. I'm ready for livery reveals. I'm ready for a great 2026. Ready for another season with y'all. We're going to have to, we're going to be doing a planning happy hour in January where Josh, Paul, and I get together and ideate, what we want to do for this season, races we want to go to, people we want to have on, different things we want to feature. So we do plan to expand and talk about other racing series next year. I know we did a little bit of it this year, but we are going to be expanding. Each of us are really passionate about other forms of racing. Josh is really into endurance racing. Paul is really into IndyCar. I'm super into everything because I have ADD and just cannot sit still for a moment. So we are going to be looking forward to expanding, a little bit broader a scope of motorsport. We will always love F1. It's what brought us together, but we are excited to bring some new stuff to you guys for 2026.
And I think we're going to try to collab with other creators.
Yeah.
Trying to, as a whole, this community has been very welcoming. Especially, you've been doing it for a little bit. Josh and I are just starting out. But I think, especially everybody we met in COTA that creates content, everybody was welcoming. Nobody, as far as I'm concerned, interacting with other people, over social media, nobody's been a jerk. Everybody's been very welcoming and willing to answer questions. So look forward to collaborating with other people and working with other people and just growing motorsports as a whole, which has been a lot of fun, and it's going to be continue to be a lot of fun.
Agreed. And I just think, as we close out 2025, I think about the fact that, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, like I didn't even know y'all, and it's so crazy to think about. Like, I know I was like texting you guys last night and making like my 2025 highlight, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so emotional because I think about what motorsports has done, and it brought us together. It brings people together as a community, like engaging with other creators online, other fans online. Like that's what this is all about. And I just think that as we continue into 2026, we just want to do more of that. We want to connect more with everybody and talk about what we love and learn from others. And that's what makes this so cool and so exciting. So
Absolutely.
I just think 2025 was a great year. Nowhere to go but up for the Apex podcast. And it's just going to continue being great.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts on 2025?
Nope. It's been a great year, one to remember. And I look forward to 26 and all the stuff we create. I decided I'm going to get into NASCAR this year. So,
I'm so excited.
Learning
Josh
about
like,
that.
Jesus Christ, take that off the group chat. Welcome. You're in for a lot. I mean, 4 hours every Sunday. It's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to talk about it. And, we'll get into another episode, all the lawsuits and everything going into it. Michael Jordan doing amazing things for the sport, but that's for another day. Looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah. Josh, any closing thoughts on 2025 for you?
No, I think it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's been fun building this and doing this, doing this podcast here. It was great to actually go in person, meeting you guys. Well, I know Paul. Meeting Meredith,
I know Paul.
Hanging out with Paul, going to a race, meeting a bunch of people at COTA, just being in there in the environment and seeing in person, incredible year. So that right there just, boosts my opinion of this race season to, another level. So much fun. I can't wait to see what's in store for next year. So all in all, really good time.
I have to give you a compliment, Josh. Excellent job on your TikTok. Your buy the F1 tickets TikTok. The Apex Creed on TikTok is Josh.
Yeah, I need to post more. I'm trying. We're dabbling.
He's posting content. I was like, that's a good one, Josh. But I think it just made me realize, like, obviously, like running the socials for this is a lot of fun, but like seeing you, Josh, get excited and like wanting to post your own content, and like Paul, seeing you post the stories, like it's easy for me to sit back and be the one who runs the socials, but seeing you guys do it too, just like shows that you guys see the benefit of it too, and that it makes you excited to connect with other people in this way. Like it's awesome, and we're gonna have a great 2026.
It is tough having to, I mean, this, I record like 12 different takes before I send one in, because it's just, you are your biggest critic, and I hate my voice, or I hate the way this sounded, and it's tough. But it's been fun getting out of my shell and just kind of exposing myself a little bit. And I have some ideas going into 26. I want to try to explore some more stuff and just putting some stuff out there on not only my personal account, but also the Apex account.
Yeah. Well, we will be taking a little bit of the break just through it's December 29th right now, but we'll probably take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to have our planning happy hour in January, and then we will be back in early January with you all. We will post some fun stuff in the meantime, though. We've got clips from Coda. I promise we'll post our car karaoke. We've got some bloopers, some funny videos, and some stuff like that from our time together at Coda. So we will be posting some content on socials, but thank you for joining us this year. Stay tuned. We will be back in 2026 with more of the Apex podcast, and we are so grateful for each and every one of you, and we will see you all in the new year. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.
Take care.